It's Drybear. Today I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know to get started in Pax Dei, and trust me, the game is very confusing and overwhelming when you first start, so let's dispel all of that today. But before we jump in, let's get a couple things straight, because there's a lot of questions around what Pax Dei actually is and who it's actually for. This is the early access launch of the game. They're kind of exiting an alpha state, but it is still an early testing state for the game. So if you wanted to get in and start building, the premise of this game is that it's a vast, large, humongous open world, and everyone works together to build cities and castles and their own domiciles and things like that out in the wilderness with the bears and the badgers and the foxes. So that's what you're going to be doing, is kind of entering into a open empty world, unless you're like joining a filled server and going into that as well. However, keep in mind that this is an MMO. This is not a traditional survival game. It is not a traditional solo experience. So you will have to make a character and select a server. The thing that it's important about that is it means you won't be able to change any custom settings. I know a lot of people that play survival games and games like it and sandbox games where they get to go in and make their own server, private server with no one else on it, and have their own custom settings. That's not going to be the case. This is an always online MMO, so you'll be joining a server and building next to people, interacting with others, and they marketed this as primarily a social game, which means they want you to merge your buildings together with other people, build towns, talk to people, work together, and form clans and groups that you can use to work together. So when you're on this main screen, you will just be creating a new character and then going through and selecting a server and jumping into the game. The next thing to know is that when you are selecting a server and creating a world, the world you're joining, there's going to be subsections of that world. So let's say we pick EU Central and we click on tiers. So when we continue here, we make our character. You can choose whatever look that you want for your character. And when you hit continue and verify your character's name, you'll be able to jump into and select a region for your starting point. Now, on the left side of the screen, you can see that there are several areas. So there's like Innisgalia, Marie, Karis, and Ancienne. All of these maps are actually connected. So there's like, think of these as like subsections of a larger map, like actual regions. And each of these look different, right? So they're gonna have different layouts, different areas to go to and all of that. And then inside of these major regions, there are start zones. And that's what these are right here. So all of these white areas are different start zones. And when you zoom in on the map a little bit, you can see these red lines. Those denote the building areas. There's common areas between the starting zones that have it. Your starting zone doesn't matter. It's just where you start. There's no like major benefit or downside. I think all of them are self-contained. They should have every resource that you need. They just have them in different places or in different amounts, or might have slightly different enemies that you're facing and accessibility to certain things, but all of them are the same. So it depends on whether you want to build near somebody or if you want to be building all on your own. You might want to select a lower population, but once you get into game, you'll be able to select your own starting point anyways. You'll load in like this, albeit without armor that you've crafted, but you'll be in this kind of open world looking around, and you'll be able to do whatever you want. The first thing you're going to want to know about is going to be your crafting system. So if you press tab on PC, you'll bring up your menu system, which has inventory, equipment, crafting, skills, the clan that you join, and then you can look at the overall map as well. And again, these dotted red lines denote like the buildable areas. You can't build outside of these. You have to be in one of the starting zones to build anything. But the map is quite big, and like I said, the maps that are outside of this region, like this is the Gallia region, these are connected, so you can't go to them if you want. Your inventory is just like any other survival game or crafting game you've ever played. You have your hotkeys down here, so when your inventory is closed, you can quick select any of these and bring things out. You'll put your tools and consumables down here as you see fit, and then your inventory is here. The crafting system, however, is a little bit different than some of the survival games. It's more MMO-like than it is survival game-like. You will have these kind of quick crafts that you can use when you're out in the world, and then you'll have to build different things in order to like create new stations and things like that in order to actually unlock the higher tiers of gear and construction. So you want to build a construction hammer, and then you can have that equipped in order to start building all of the constructions. However, I recommend when you first start out, when you first load in, look for rocks. So just pick up a couple rocks. It's just like a normal survival game. You'll go and you'll collect resources you find on the ground, find a couple of the nice rocks, and then find a couple sticks as well. For some reason, there's environment art sticks. So these aren't real sticks, they're fake sticks. but there are real sticks that you can pick up when you get near one, so don't be fooled by the environment art. These are just flavor sticks, but then you can go over and you can find a real stick, which is a tree branch, then you'll get wood from that. And then right away, I would probably recommend just crafting a pointy stick immediately, just so you can defend yourself, and then a construction hammer and a nice stone axe. The axe will allow you to cut trees, and the hammer will allow you to build. Again, additionally, there are tiers for everything in this game. So when you walk up to a tree, if your axe level of the chopping isn't high enough, it'll say it's too hard, so you won't be able to do that. Same thing goes for minerals. If you run into tin or something like that, you won't be able to mine it. You'll have to find a better axe that goes on that. Then when you want to build, when you're ready, you can just click and equip the construction hammer. Once you have this in your hand, all you have to do is hit right click. The hotkeys for it are in the top right corner of the screen. So you hit right click and then you'll have all your different construction options. But the thing you'll need to do first is you'll need to build a plot. So this is very similar to like Fallout style settlements or plots. You're just looking to claim a spot of land that is yours. By default, if you just bought the default early access version, you're only gonna have one plot that you can use throughout your play experience. They are planning to monetize these plots, so you can buy more plots, and I think the higher versions of the early access version have additional plots as well. And you can actually have plots overlap and connect, so you can build across multiple areas. And again, when you're in a clan with multiple people, all of your plots can be shared, so you can actually have like a super mega castle. And I might be able to show some of those off, because some of my neighbors here, you can see over there, have that. Additionally, when you have your construction hammer in hand, you can see any other player's plots. This is my plot down here. You can see with a blue circle, but all of these orange circles are other players that have chosen to start building in the area around me. And that's where you can't build or you can't put down a plot because they have claimed that area. You can even see like right here, you can see that these people have merged together into a clan. And there's probably like 3 or 4 people over here that have connected their plots together to make the super plot, which is obviously much bigger than mine. So once you find a suitable location, all you have to do is click on plot, and then you can set it down on a location. If you want to replace the plot, you have an option to destroy your plot by releasing it, setting a waypoint to your plot, or even allowing building rights for like other people to build on or for your clan as well. And then once your plot is down, that's when you can start constructing. And I do recommend constructing early, because a lot of what Pax Dei is they want you to feel like you're slowly working towards something. And this is something that I'll cover in my review once we go over the game itself, but a lot of the things in the game take a long time to finish. An example is like, even if I just go use the tanning rack, we can go over here and look at the recipes. All of this is real time, like real life time. So if I come here and I want to craft rawhide, the crafting time is 15 minutes. So I have to activate this and walk away for 15 minutes. This one's 20 minutes, right? And so if I go over here, you can see that even smelting iron ore, this is actually a full hour of real life time before this ore is done. I started this ore 23 minutes ago. It's still smelting, it's still going. Now, keep in mind, the benefit of this is you can actually queue up multiples. You can see that the charcoal here is 20 minutes. You can fill this whole crafting queue full of materials, which looks like it's about 8. So you can have up to 8 queued up at once. And these timers continue when you're offline. So you can fill up all of these timers and go to bed, and you can wake up and they'll all be done, and you can have all that together. But you can see that it does encourage investing a lot in industry and building your own resources and area. And it also encourages you to work together with other people, because you can have someone running the furnaces and the kilns full time, someone doing all of the, the armor smithing, weapon smithing, and blacksmithing full time, and they're just grabbing ore and stuff like that. You can have people working and delegate those jobs so that that time doesn't feel as wasted, and you can be a lot more efficient. It is a traditional survival game in that you won't get new recipes until you actually collect a new resource. So for example, if we had this resource on the ground and I hadn't collected this before, as soon as I pick up this for the first time and it enters my inventory for the first time, it will unlock new crafting recipes for me that use that resource, and it'll tell you that those recipes are there. Again, this is your base crafting list of items that you can have crafted, but as you unlock more and more of the crafting tab here on your building construction hammer, you can start putting down new workbenches and like crafting stations that allow you to unlock new recipes. So this is one of the first ones you'll get, the basic carpenter's workbench. Then you'll see all these new recipes that you can unlock. A big thing to keep in mind is not only does new materials unlock recipes for you, but also tools do too. So for example, when you go to your crafting workbench, you'll see that you'll have things like the fletching tools, like basic tailoring tools, leatherworking tools, blacksmithing tools. So as you're trying to rank up your recipes and get higher and higher in tiers, you want to make sure that you craft these once for the first time, because once you craft these, that's when your crafting tab will update. So when you craft an anvil, you'll get the recipe for the stone anvil. Once you craft a armorer's tools or a like blacksmith's tools, you will unlock instantly the recipe for basic blacksmith workbench, so you can add it to your workbench collection and start crafting that way. So if you ever get stuck, you just want to go and see if you've crafted everything important that might give you a new recipe, and look around for resources or materials you haven't collected either, because those could give you new recipes and allow you to progress further. The other thing to know about building, which is a little bit different, is you have your construction tab where you can like put down walls and foundations and things like that. And then you always have your crafting tab where you can craft workstations and benches, but there's another subsystem to building that's called props. So you don't actually have your props, things like chests, like storage chests, or like furniture as part of the building system for some reason. You have to go to a workstation and then craft that. So once you craft the item, it will give you that as an item, and then you can, once you have it in your inventory as an actual item, so it actually will be a crafted shelf or a storage chest, it'll be in your inventory. Then you have to go to props and set it down that way. And it will require that item as a resource in order to place it on the ground. And when you're placing, you can use scroll wheel to spin it around. You can change the elevation by holding Alt. So if you want to put things at different elevations, this is super useful for putting down foundations. You can raise it up and down that way. And you can see all these different Alt keys as well. You can offset things left and right this way. You can, remove snap or keep snap on, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of different ways you can move it around, but that's the basic building system. Next, it is more MMO crafting than survival game crafting. And what I mean by that is that you have a skill that you will level up, and as that levels up, it gives you a higher and higher success chance in completing the crafts. You can see the skills that I've leveled up here: mining, woodcutting, armor smithing, cooking, that sort of thing. So when I go to the craft tab, you can see that each one of these things has a success chance associated with it, right? So if I go to like my blacksmith table, you can see that these green ones are trivial. They have a very high success chance of succeeding. But if I go here, this one's moderate, which means it's more than likely going to fail when you do it. When you fail a craft session, like you try to craft something and you fail, you will lose like 70% or 75% of the materials, and it'll drop on the ground next to you or go back in your inventory, but you'll gain experience from that. And every time you craft, even if you fail, you get a little experience, your level goes up. So like if we try to craft, let's try to craft something really hard that we probably will fail on. This is the bonded leather bracer. We're going to craft this with the quartz leather bands. You see that as it pushes through, that bar will go up. The higher the bar goes, the more XP you get and the chance of bonus crafting events to happen. However, there is a chance that when you're crafting, you will completely fail. So if you try to craft, it might not make it to that 50% line where that chevron is, and then you'll fail and lose most of your materials. So it has to cross that 50% line to succeed, and then everything past that, as it continues to build up more and more success, can give you more XP and potentially more bonuses as well. If you need to, you can place items on the ground. Anything can go on the ground, but there is a timeout period. There's a garbage collection that's always running. I think it's like 5 to 10 minutes where these will sit. So you do eventually want to start putting things in storage if you want to keep them, because eventually they'll just decay on the ground. But there's tons of different ways you can do it. The first storage chest you get is decent. It's better than it was in the early alpha. So you can craft a basic storage chest here and use that simple chest. You can also just keep upgrading more and more to get higher tiers of chests that have more and more resources and storage. And of course, on public servers, you can set this to private so no one can take loot from you off the ground as well, which is super useful. Keep in mind that your plot is, it's a circle. I don't know, I wish it was a square, not a circle, because it would give you a little bit more, you wouldn't have these weird overlaps where it cuts over, but you can build as much as you want in the middle, and there's also like not as much limitation as you would think going vertically as well. So what you'll have to do is start getting very efficient with your space if you're only gonna have one plot for the basic version of the game. So you have to kind of build up and down and create multiple floors in different areas where you put things. So eventually I'll probably cut out this foundation and put up support beams, and then build a lower floor here, and then build a higher floor up as we go up, just to make sure we're making good use of this. But because we have these long cooking times for materials and crafting and processing, I do recommend getting multiple stations to burn through these at once, because it just gets a lot more efficient, right? If it's an hour to smelt iron, I want to make sure that I can have all of these furnaces going at once, so it's burning through all of them, or I can just let it run overnight and get all the gear that I'm looking for. When making and wearing equipment or using the tools up, you'll get stats from them. You do want to get some kind of armor early if you can, because it helps you a lot with the wildlife. Some of the wildlife can be quite dangerous, especially bears and wolves. They can do a lot of damage to you and finish you off, so you want to have that there. Each piece of gear has its own stats. So you can see in the top right corner there, it says durability and lifetime. Durability is the durability of the item. When that hits 0, you can't use it anymore, but you can repair it. And then lifetime is how many times you can repair it. So when you repair it, lifetime goes down, durability goes back up to full. And right now there isn't really much downside to this. You'll just have to make a new one every couple repairs if you need to, but the defense options is there. Some weapons and gear have abilities on them, which is super nice. So that actually goes a long way in combat. So you can see like my mace here, if I hold control and left click, I do this special wind-up attack. If I have my shield on me, I can hold control and then right-click, and that gives me a shield bash attack that goes on cooldown. So that's part of the combat system itself. There is magic in the game, and it won't show up until later. You're really going to have to get a base set up, get all your materials, start crafting, and get a good set of gear so you can actually venture out and face more than just wildlife. And you will get resource like resistances like cold fire, mental poison as you face more and more enemy types. But I reckon that for most players, your first couple days are going to be just building and collecting, because there's a lot of things that you need to get set up for your base. Another big tip I have for people that are just starting the game: do not sleep on food buffs. If you look at the very bottom middle of the screen, you have this like fork and knife crossed. You can actually have up to 3 food buffs active at once. You see I have this apple here, we can eat this cooked meat, and then we can eat a berry. These give, not only do they give health regen, so passive health regen, your health starts regenerating, it gives you max health and max stamina. You can have 3 of these open at a time. You can eat raw like berries, you can cook up some meat from an animal, you can have these buffs going, and then until you get an apothecary station, you won't have a potion buff going, but these buffs for food are very easy to get. You can get them as soon as you spawn and start collecting materials. When it comes to combat, my best advice, honestly, is just to treat everything as a DPS race. You can block with shields to reduce damage, and when you get the higher level shields, it becomes more valuable. But when you're first starting out, just look for a DPS race. When you find enemies, we can run into a wildlife out here in the area. Is this a bear? It's a wolf. So the wolves will aggro, and then they'll de-aggro after a certain distance, but the combat in this game is a little janky. You can see that hit me there. It's a little laggy and weird. That didn't hit me. So just wait for them to de-aggro, and then once they de-aggro, then you can kind of like catch them again. So now I've got one guy chilling here. You can see he still does damage to me even when I'm blocking. So we can wait for that, and then he re-aggroed. So honestly, when it comes to combat, it's so janky that I would just look for a chance for, like, I can pull him away and then I can get one alone. I can start going for it. I can go for like my mega stun and then run away when the other one comes. But you're really just going to have to DPS race for the most part, because it is very janky when it comes to combat. Then we can just die and show you what happens when you die. You'll be able to respawn nearby, and you'll be able to collect your corpse as well. So you can see how it created this little like glowing thing where my body is. That is now my corpse, and most of my items are now on that. So I can press E in order to respawn at the shrine, which is nearby. So depending on this, you'll be able to select a different spot. But you can see that I died, like my base is here, and I died over here. It'll find the nearest shrine. So on the mini-map or on the map, you'll see these like giant stones. That's the respawn point. And if we go back to our corpse, we'll be able to pick up all of the items that we dropped. Also, if you've ever played like EverQuest 1 or like Final Fantasy 11, they have the tractor beaming from grabbing corpses and taking them to you. So after you die, you can hold the letter T, T as in Tyrannosaurus Rex, and you can go to the home shrine, you can summon your corpse, or you can summon your party's corpse. You have to be pretty close to it, so I'm nowhere near close to it enough right now. He's gonna do this weird animation, but it's not gonna get in range. So as you get close enough, it's like about this big. That just prevents it from being like, if you fell off a cliff and it got stuck halfway down, you can pull it towards you, or your teammates can help recover your corpse if you're in a clan. Now, when it's your corpse, you'll see these little like butterflies and beams coming out of it. If it's another player's, you'll basically only get like a little halo ring, but you can walk up to it and you can get all your gear and take it all and put it back on, and it should auto-equip most things other than like your weapons and detail, but that's how you get back to your gear and then keep it all safe. If you ever need to destroy anything to move it, all you have to do is hit middle mouse on it. So I can grab like all the honey I have in this thing, and I can whack it, that'll destroy it. And for most things in the game, it'll just put it back in your inventory, so you'll be able to place it down again if you need to, or it'll just get rid of it that way, and then you can build new ones in different areas, especially if it's a prop. And then if you need to, you can, like I said, you can go to release your plot and then create a new plot somewhere else, which will usually get rid of this. I think they're working on better ways to be able to move your entire plot, but if you need to, like you don't like where you are or you don't want to get a new plot, you can dump all this stuff and move it somewhere else. And lastly, I can just leave you with some tips for the game. I would definitely, like I said, try to expand your industry early. So rather than building one kiln, I would make several and try to keep these going at all times, right? Just come by and get these filled up and make sure they're burning. Again, instead of one furnace, try to make several so you can fill these up and get these running. Because again, you know, if it takes 1 hour to make some ingots, you may want to have multiple going at once. Also, I recommend leveling up your core skills early as well. So you can see that I have carpentry at 7, blacksmithing at 4, right? Those are super important. Carpentry is one of the best ones to level up. So what you can do is you can actually just go to like a carpenter's workbench, make a whole bunch of recipes that are about yellow level, so either very easy or easy, and then burn that recipe over and over and over until you level up. Because when you start making these harder, more difficult items, you're going to fail less and save more of those valuable resources. One of the best ones is straw. You can find flax fiber just laying around in the grass all over the world, and you can use this to level your carpentry up to 7. Another tip is that you can see what the max skill level is that item will be able to give you XP for before it becomes mastered, right? So if you get this up to 4, it'll become trivial or mastered, and you'll start getting less and less, and then eventually no XP from it. But when, you know, out of 7, that's 8 is what you're looking for to turn this into green, and then you want to get into, you know, higher and higher for fletching to get that as well. So super important. I also recommend, like, you can just get by with a spear and a shield for most things. It's gonna be hard to deal with bears and wolves, but you can easily take out foxes, rabbits, deer, and boars, like the regular boars that aren't older or infested, or even like you can't deal with the humanoids with this, but the spear is just super good, and all you have to do to craft it, you just need 2 sapwood. It's super easy. The damage is insane. It's a very, very good weapon. So that is getting started in Pax Dei. If you have other tips, drop those down in the comments so other people can benefit from those as well. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.